Welcome back into the Mazz and Bads show, folks. Charlie Baduini here with Brandon Mazz Marrazzo. Ready to talk some football. I know it's still June. There's not a whole lot going on besides, some guys aren't happy with contracts. Contracts have been handed out. Some players are adapting to new situations on new teams. And we're going to break down and discuss it all, right, Maz?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Charlie. Let's just get it out of the way because everybody always wants to know where's the bias coming from, this and that. Listen, I'm a Cowboys fan. You're a Jets fan. It just is what it is. We're going to have preconceived notions, but I would say this: I think we are harder on our teams than the average fans are. So I think people can expect us holding each other and our teams more accountable down the road. So it's just like, yeah, we're gonna break this down, and if you feel that it's biased, so be it. I don't think it's going to be. I think we're going to get after it. And I think I'm here for cold, hard truths. And I know we're going to be getting into both of our teams. But first, I believe our trip takes us down to the Sunshine State.
That is correct. I think definitely the biggest NFL news of the past week, at least, is definitely got to be Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence inking a 5-year, $275 million extension with the Jags. It ties Joe Burrow for the highest paid quarterback on a per year basis. Trevor Lawrence getting $55 million a year from the Jags. Maz, what is your instant reaction to hearing that number and that he ties Joe Burrow for highest paid on a per year basis?
Foremost, no disrespect. What the hell has he done to deserve that? I understand locking up your quarterback for the future. How many times are you going to be able to get your hands on a talent like that? But he's underperformed. And I'm a guy who, as you know, had all the stake in Jacksonville coming into this year. I really thought that they were going to perform much better. I understand why they paid him, but listen, the stats just necessarily aren't backing it. I feel like Trevor Lawrence just doesn't come up in the moments that they need him to. I think that he needs to prove that he's worth this contract. And I think this is could be the year where to make a statement. They're not winning anything, but I think expecting him to be better, you can absolutely put it on there. I mean, listen, he completed 65 and change as a completion percentage. Threw for 4,016 yards, which was great, but 21 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. I'm sorry, if your name was Dak Prescott doing that, the media would be out there crucifying you.
So I don't disagree with you. Trevor Lawrence obviously isn't in that upper echelon of like if you're thinking you need a quarterback to lead you down the field, one drive to win the game, one touchdown drive. Trevor Lawrence isn't probably in the first 8 names you think of, 8 or 9, 8 or
Yeah.
even 10 you could say probably. However, where I will defend Jacksonville here is it's usually typically always a good idea to give a guy like your upcoming up and coming quarterback in Trevor Lawrence and your up and coming young superstar QB the contract that he can at the time, because it's only going to look better as time goes on. Like if you look at the guys who are coming up on extension talks, you got Dak Prescott, who we will definitely get into in just a little bit. Tua is going to sign an extension this summer at some point that is going to probably exceed Joe Burrow, or excuse me, Trevor Lawrence, because of his longer tenure in the NFL and what he's done with his stats. And then Jordan Love, who is going to get a contract extension based off of what he did last year. And I think once you see the numbers for those guys, especially Tua, especially Jordan Love, I think the Lawrence contract is going to be a bit more palatable.
Sure. I don't think you're wrong at all. I just like I said, when Baker Mayfield's outperforming you, I think you just need to be better for me. Now, granted, he did have Mike Evans, but let's not act like Tampa Bay was this crazy team, And I just think that he has not lived up to the hype. This is a guy who they said this is the next Andrew Luck, this is the next great prospect, Peyton Manning, guess, what have you. I like Trevor Lawrence. I want Jacksonville to succeed because I'm sick of hearing everybody saying that they're moving to London or that nobody cares about them. This is a franchise that could finally get something done. It's just he needs to be better, I believe.
And I think he will. He has suffered the last few years from the supporting cast not being great. Offensive line has never been elite. He did have some weapons last year, but he still somehow had the worst drop rate for any quarterback over the last 3 seasons. So
Yeah, that's insane.
yeah,
I didn't know that. Full discretion, did not know that because you think about the names that he played with. I mean, you have Calvin Ridley as wide receiver one, and he absolutely murdered it. I have Etienne out of the backfield, and help me out here. I'm blanking on the other wide
Christian
receiver, even though
Kirk.
he helped me in my fantasy. Thank you, Christian Kirk has overplayed his contract. That's for sure. Helped me win a fantasy championship, so thank you to him. But yeah, I Jacksonville is just such a weird organization, man. I mean, they go from having what felt like a generational defense, and then not too long after is completely dismantled. They get Urban Meyer, hot new coach, and it was the biggest catastrophe. And I was so upset about that because I was an Urban Meyer guy when he was at the University of Florida, and he had a decent stint with Ohio State. But I feel like they never get it right. But I think Trevor can be their guy. I just don't think he's proven to be their guy yet.
I agree with you, but I think he's shown enough. He has shown enough to warrant the hope that he will get there relatively sooner rather than later, which is why I still think I still think it was a good idea to give him this contract now. It's gonna look better as time goes on, and if you're the Jaguars,
Here's my concern.
Okay.
Here's my concern. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Jordan Love had a worse supporting cast, I felt like, and developed even faster. So, like, where's the warrant? I mean, this is a guy who's constantly not meeting the mark, I feel like. Yeah, yes, there's hope there. There's been hope there since they drafted him, though. He needs to crank it up to this new level. Like I said, Baker Mayfield, I'm staking it right now, will have a better season than Trevor Lawrence. And I said it. Jordan Love will, again, have a better season than Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to be right on this. I want him to live up to the hype, all right? Because I want to see Jacksonville compete. I think they'd be a fun team, and I haven't met a Jacksonville Jaguars fan in my entire life, and I would love to meet the new bandwagon.
Definitely some interesting points there. We'll see what happens with T-Law and the Jaguars this year. And like you said, Mazz, it is kind of funny. Like if you look at the supporting cast the last few years, you would think it's a lot better than it actually was in terms of production. Like you said, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. I think the big one there is they got to improve the offensive line, and that's usually just what it takes to establish a more consistent ground game. Give Lawrence some more time to pick apart the defense, which I think he can. He's definitely one of the more cerebral quarterbacks in football. I think he gets there eventually. This contract, I think I would have done the same thing if I'm Trent Baalke.
You can sit there and you can put all the money you want into weapons as you want, but the fact will always remain. Look at all the great dynasties. Look at Tom Brady's career. Look at everything that has gone into winning championships. Offensive line prevails. It is the most important part of the game. We've seen Eli Manning defy odds because he had time to make some magic happen. All right, we've seen wide receivers put on displays because their quarterback had some time to let their route develop and them get some separation. The offensive line for me will forever and always be maybe not the crown jewel for what people think, but you can't put the jewel in the case until you build the mantle. And you got to establish the mantle, my friend.
Definitely need to see the Jaguars take on a bit more of a contending role this year. As we know, last year started the season great. I think they were like 7-2 at one point, and they limped their way to the finish line. Didn't even end up making the playoffs. And there's gonna be some questions. It's a hot seat year for the Jaguars. If they can't turn it around, Doug Peterson definitely on his way out as the coach. They're definitely gonna want to see if they can replace him. But
I think that's the problem, though, right? When are they going to get some consistency, right? I mean, it's been – I can't even name the Jaguars coaches over the years, because I just feel like it's a nonstop carousel of, hey, come on by. Oh, you're not getting us where we needed to be. Like, dude, for the love of God, let somebody sink in a hook and actually build something up, all right? It wasn't going to be Urban Meyer. You went with Doug Peterson. Give him some time, I feel like. Yeah. You cannot constantly blame him for – things not proven. You're the guys that are building the team. The Khans are building the team. Let's be honest. Like I know Tony Khan's running AEW. They own Fulham, and Father Khan has his hands in there too. I couldn't even tell you who the damn GM is anymore. But I think it's the team building, not necessarily on the coaching all the time. Like, at least with Doug Peterson, for me, I don't think they're losing because of Doug Peterson's decisions. I think they're losing because talent's underperforming.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how the Jags do this year. I'm also a Dougie P fan, but entering year 3, if there isn't a play like year 1, they made the playoffs, they won a playoff game. If there isn't at least a playoff berth this year, I'd fire him too.
I think I'd ride with him for one more year.
Okay.
That's just me personally. You got to build up some culture. What culture do they have? I mean, who can you even tell me the Jaguars forever player? I know they're a new franchise, but it's been 20 years. When
Maurice
you think of the
Jones-Drew.
Jaguars, is that it? I think of Byron Leftwich, for crying out loud. And Maurice Jones-Drew is absolutely the right answer. But come on, man. Like, this team just needs to establish something. Maybe it could be Lawrence. I want it to be Lawrence. I want them to do good. But just constantly recycling and not giving something time to develop is just never going to be it. How can you expect Trevor Lawrence to be that guy when he could potentially have 3 different head coaches for his entire time there, in the first 4 years of being there? That's not development, my friend. That is nothing but causing utter chaos.
So Trevor Lawrence isn't the only quarterback who is extension eligible right now. There's another guy out there who is entering the last year of his deal and is eligible for an extension, but it doesn't appear he's going to be getting one. Dak Prescott for the Cowboys, coming off a runner-up MVP season. He finished second in MVP voting, and he's going to be a free agent in 2025, or so it appears right now, because the Cowboys, he has a $55 million cap hit for this upcoming season. The Cowboys are damn close to that salary cap where they can't go over. If they had extended Dak earlier, back in March, back in February when the season ended, they would have had a lot more room in terms of cap space and a lot more money to play with to increase the talent level on this team. But of course, head-scratchingly enough, the Cowboys choose not to. They're going into the season with Dak in the last year of his deal, and it doesn't really feel like they have a whole lot of urgency to get an extension done, Mazz. Does that sound fair?
I have no clue what they're doing. Of course, once again, Jerry's got me sitting here scratching my head. If I had any hair left on top of it, I'd pull it out. Dak Prescott, and people are going to hate this right now. I don't even care. Dak Prescott had an Aaron Judge-esque year for the NFL. All right, this guy bet on himself and showed it. They probably could have got a deal done, but Dak was like, no, I think I'm worth a certain number. I'm going to go out there and prove it. I'll tell this right now. I'm not just saying this because I'm a Cowboys fan. All right. This guy gets hated on more than any other quarterback in the league because he plays for a franchise that people tend to hate, and I can't even blame him. Our fans are annoying as hell, right? But the fact still remains, Dak probably should have been the MVP if I'm keeping it 100 with you.
That's something we both agree on.
The guy had, I mean, come on, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He had more passing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson. I believe he was third in total yards. He threw for
4,500.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm lying. I'm completely wrong. It was 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I was looking at the wrong damn line. All right. Threw for 4,516 yards, which was top 3 in the league. A QBR rating that was just off the charts for me. More total touchdowns than Lamar Jackson while having a worse defense, which could have been better coming into the season, but they had injuries, and Baltimore definitely had the better defense. This is a guy who I think deserves to get paid. Now, here's the thing, though, right? I think Dak shouldn't be thinking so much about the money. We just did a basketball podcast, and I just got done telling you how OG Anunoby is a guy that's not going to make his money off the court, so he needs to get all that he can with prioritizing money.
Dak's the opposite here. Yeah.
It's the polar opposite here. You have the only person who's going to get more endorsements than you is Patty Mahomes because he's winning rings. All right. You are the face of the Dallas Cowboys. As long as you're performing, all right, and you're the quarterback of the Cowboys, there's always going to be off-field opportunities. I can't blame a man for wanting his money, especially when he played like that. But how did Tom Brady win championships? He took pay cuts. All right. I think Dak should be thinking about taking a pay cut here, right? and acquiring some of these talents. Same thing with CD Lamb. I think CD should be thinking about. I know he wants to be high paid, especially with Justin Jefferson getting his money. I think. Do you guys want to be paid or do you guys want to win championships? Because more money is going to come in if you win championships. All right. But at the same time, when do you have a chance to get a top 10 quarterback, let alone Dak, who had a top 2 performance, which obviously the top performance in the regular season? Are you going to blame Dak for playoffs? Because I blamed defense last year. All right. I've blamed coaching basically every other year before that, whether it was Mike McCarthy or God help me, Jason Garrett. This is a guy who's definitely worth it. I think Dak Prescott's coming in as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL this season. And you never want to lose that. Trey Lance ain't the guy. I don't care how good he's having. Everybody and their mother is having a great mini camp. Everybody and their mother is performing well in the off season. And then we get to preseason and maybe they ball out there too. But then the regular season come and it's like, you are who we thought you were. All right. And that's nothing special. All right. Dak Prescott is special. This is a guy every year with adversity, playing with the headaches under Jerry Jones, playing with the headaches of having a coach who may or may not be comparable to even be in the damn position at the time, and he still defies the odds. Is he winning in the playoffs? No, but we're just going to put it on Dak Prescott like everybody else hasn't damn underachieved on this team? Are you kidding me? You cannot lose Dak, and if it's going to take the damn number, you get it done. But Dak should be thinking, you don't need to be the highest paid because you are going to make that up on the other end with the endorsements and everything else. I mean, I don't know about you. I've been seeing Dak a hell of a lot more on commercials, and we live in New Jersey for crying out loud.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely like a national, a national figure in terms of commercials. You think of the mattress commercials. I think he did some yogurt ones as well. And that's just a privilege you get as a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Troy Aikman got the same treatment. Tony Romo, Roger Staubach to a lesser degree back in the 70s. You know what I mean? It's just it's a position. It's a position where you are essentially a national face because the Cowboys are playing on primetime just about every week. You know what I mean?
Buddy, I'm having trembles right now because he's at that tight end university in Nashville right now, and I know that the Titans are secretly there just talking in his ear like, hey, buddy, we value you. You can be our guy. We got Will Levis, but Will Levis can learn behind you, and you could be there for 4 years, and yada, yada, yada. I am petrified that he's going to fall in love with Nashville as I did when I went down there for a bachelor party for my brother-in-law a couple of years back. It's a great city, great place to be. I just hope that we don't lose out on him because Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. Dak Prescott can win you not just one Super Bowl, multiple Super Bowls. If the organization would be damn competent just one in their life, for the love of God, can we get a GM?
And I'm also tired of the narrative that I'm tired of the narrative that he doesn't win in the playoffs as well. He has as many playoff wins as Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and one less than Marcus Mariota, which, I mean, if you even want to say that, that's, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna be honest. You bringing up that actually just hurt the case for it.
But Mariota's ahead of guys like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson as well. So you know what I mean? It's not I feel like you can't hold that against him in terms of active quarterbacks who are playing right now in terms of playoff wins.
Well, I think people are going to value the fact that Lamar has gotten to an AFC championship, right? Hurts has gotten to a Super Bowl, but I don't give a damn about any of that if you didn't win it. We don't talk about the losers unless we're trying to, talk about a greater loser. Yes, Dak hasn't gotten past the second round in the playoffs. That just remains the fact, but nobody gave Tony Romo the flowers when he came in midway through the season. They lost to Seattle, which I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, was the NFC Championship game due to a missed field goal. Might have been the round before. I'm forgetting, but no, I think it was that not the NFC Championship game.
No, I'm pretty sure they for Tony Romo against the Seahawks.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was wild card.
Really?
Yeah.
But you know what? He came in halfway through the season, didn't even have to be there. But the guy never got the flowers for even stepping in. We give flowers when we want. My point is, we give flowers when we want to give flowers. All right, and then come on, dude. If we're talking about Lamar versus Patrick Mahomes, it's always going to be, well, dude, he never won a Super Bowl, so who gives a damn? But then when we talk about it, it's oh, he got one more game more, ended up in the AFC Championship. Like, dude, who cares? Nobody cares. All right, we care about winning Super Bowls. That's it. And once again, if you think Dak is the reason why the Cowboys aren't getting over that threshold, I just don't think you're watching Cowboys football.
Uh, Hard agree with you there. Absolutely. So to continue off of the Dak conversation here, if he were to hit the open market right now, I think that sweepstakes would be pretty massive, and it would feature a whole lot more teams than even Kirk Cousins was garnering interest from this offseason. And I think he's one of those guys where, you look at the Lawrence contract, he's getting paid $55 million a year. If Dak's on the open market, he's getting more than that, and I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
No, absolutely not, especially with the season that he just had, especially when you have teams out there that are looking for quarterbacks. We just talked about the Titans. I'm sure the Raiders would love to get a Dak Prescott. There's multiple teams I think that, oh, wow, we might just be a Dak Prescott away from actually contending or at least completely getting on the other side of this rebuild process. Not every day you stumble into a top 5 quarterback for the season coming up. You might be able to get it with him. He's been a top 10 quarterback since he's been in the league. All right. We saw him climb from off the list into the top 10 up to 7. Seemed like he wasn't going to get past 7 for a while. And then boom, the best quarterback in the NFL last season. And I don't care what you say, a top 5 quarterback coming in this year. When are you going to be able to get that? The draft's not going to get you that. If that was the case, the Browns would have generational talent after generational talent with the amount of first-round picks, number 1 overall picks that they've taken at quarterback over the years. There's dogs, and then there's pipples, and Dak is a pipple.
I like that. I like that take for sure. I do think if he were on the open market, he would be one of the most coveted free agents in recent memory. Like you said, the Raiders, Titans. I could see the Giants if things don't work out this season. If they're able to win just enough games to stay out of the top 10, but still know that Daniel Jones and Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito aren't the answer, I could see them taking a big swing, trying to pluck from the Cowboys to improve their team and make them worse. You know what I mean?
How ironic. That would just be like the most devious thing ever. Dak goes to the Giants and wins them a Super Bowl.
That would be. Oh yeah.
After all the years of smack that they talked to him, right? Dak's not good, this and that, and now all of a sudden, oh yeah, I guess Dak's kind of good, and then even Cowboys fans, how many Cowboys fans are out there? Oh, we need to get rid of Dak. Dak's the problem, this and that. Like, you bum, shut up. Like, good God, just stop it. All right, I'll tell you right now, Dak will go down a better talent than Troy Aikman. And I said it. I'm not saying that I think Troy's going to have the better career, but in terms of throwing of the football, in terms of just, the way that the game's evolved and everything, like if you're going to take prime Troy or prime Dak and they're both going to have this Cowboys team, yeah, I think I'm still rocking with Dak because Michael Irvin was a hell of a guy to catch to, and Emmitt Smith was the best running back in the league. I said it.
Totally with you, and I'm actually pulling some numbers up now.
What do you got for me?
I'm looking at Troy Aikman versus Dak Prescott all time.
Yep.
Dak has played in 51 less games than Troy, right?
Yep.
He hasn't won he's won 19 less games than Aikman, but his completion percentage is 6 ticks higher. Troy has thrown for 3,000 more yards, but Dak has thrown 47 more touchdowns than him and 70 less interceptions in 50 less games.
Listen, I'm always a big advocate of it's hard to compare because it's more of a passing game, right? But if it's more of a passing game, that means you have today, it's more of a passing game today than it was back then is what I'm saying, right? If you have the chance of more at attempts, that means that there's more failures to it. I think there has been that many more attempts, and he's that much better with it. Like, that's how you compare quarterback play. If we were going to compare it to Dan Marino, I'm sure Dan Marino is going to be on the winning side of that. Like, I'm not saying that Troy's not good. I'm just saying everybody wants him to be Troy when, I'm sorry, I think he's better than Troy. Like, Troy is a great field general game manager, But let's not act like Troy didn't have the pinnacle of the league around him. Pinnacle line, pinnacle wide receiver, pinnacle running back, and a good defense. You know, Dak has had a defense that was supposed to be pinnacle, but then ends up getting injured. Dak has what's supposed to be a great line, but ends up towards the top of most penalties by an offensive damn line. CeeDee Lamb's up there, but is he Justin Jefferson? No. Maybe he's better, maybe he's worse. I think Justin Jefferson is the better receiver, but he's right behind him. All right. Where's the running back been? Zeke really went downhill. And let's not forget about my favorite of all levels to this, coaching. Troy Aikman definitely had a better coach than Dak ever had combined.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would absolutely take Mr. Jimmy Johnson over both Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy on the same staff. That's for damn sure.
I might take Jimmy Johnson right now if I'm being completely honest with you.
Get him out of the broadcasting booth, bring him back on down to the field.
I don't even hate Mike McCarthy. I really wish that there could have been like a way, like it would never have happened due to egos, and I can't blame it. But I really wish that there was a way to get, Bill Belichick in and Mike McCarthy just be an offense coordinator. I really wish we could have seen that happen. But to be fair, we'd probably be chopping more salaries than we are now if Belichick came in. So maybe that's not the best. But a man can dream acquiring, goats to join the organization. Even if they might be past their prime.
It could have been like Pat Riley to the Heat, you know what I mean? Just like the Godfather onto his next stop. But alas, Bill Belichick's still out there. You never know. See what happens after the season.
I really think that if Mike McCarthy doesn't make some serious noise, he's out.
I agree. Along with Dak, Mike McCarthy is also entering the final year of his contract.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised that if both of them were to be gone next season, and as they call it, Emperor Palpatine joins the Dark Force.
That would be quite the empire there down in Dallas, Big D. So continuing on with the quarterback news, we have the Falcons were finally penalized after a month-long investigation into tampering for Kirk Cousins. They were found to have tampered. They had contact with Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney, the receiver they also signed in free agency prior to the legal negotiation window, and they were fined $250,000 and a fifth-round pick in the 2025 draft. Now, Mazz, before you even say anything, let me pose a hypothetical to you. Ready? You are Joe Schoen, general manager of the New York Giants. You are entering 2025 free agency. Your quarterback play was mid this year. The defense was good. Malik Neighbors had
mid.
Yes. Malik Neighbors.
It was worse than mid.
Malik Neighbors had a good season. The Giants went 7-10. They have the 13th overall pick, just outside of the top 10. They can't get a premium quarterback. Dak Prescott is an unrestricted free agent. You need a quarterback. Before the tampering window opens, you have his phone number slipped to you by an anonymous fellow who is an interested third party. Let's just leave it at that. Are you accepting losing $250K and a fifth round pick to acquire the best available quarterback on the open market?
Charlie, did you basically just ask me, do I get put in timeout for robbing a bank? Is that because that's essentially what we see? All right, you can. Yeah. They got fined $250,000 as the average human being that we are. Yeah, that's a lot of money. To NFL billionaires organizations. Dude, congratulations! You fined them $20, $25. It's basically what you find them. Are you kidding me? This is absolutely ridiculous. A fifth round pick. I mean, come on, bro. We see fifth round picks not even make the final roster sometimes. Like this is a joke. This is a joke penalty. I don't even know why you would even enforce it. Like this is just absolutely stupid. All right, if you're gonna make a penalty mean something. Take a first round pick.
Oh, absolutely. Make it yeah.
I'm not even worried about like the money fine, like, $250 fine, but like, I think the pick is what's more valuable for it. Like, find it a legitimate pick, especially, I think the player that was tampered with, you assign what that would be. Like, I think Kirk Cousins probably worth, dare I say, a third to fourth rounder. Some people might even have it higher. So maybe it should be by a scale basis in terms of what that player was worth, or maybe you should do it how I would really like it of, hey, don't do this shit. Excuse my language. Don't do this. And let's actually take something that's even of more value. I think swiping a first round pick should definitely be worth this. Now, I'm not mad at Atlanta because, listen, if that's what the penalty is, of course they're going to take advantage of it. And if I was the Giants, dude, I'd be doing that 3 times a year for crying out loud. All right? Like, oh, but take the picks. You're telling me that I just got a top 10 at the position, borderline a top 5, and all you're taking is $250,000 and a fifth-round pick? Oh, dude, go get me the best defensive lineman out there. Go get me the best offensive lineman out there. Go get me the best wide receiver out there. Like, whatever I could get my grubby paws on, I would be taking that risk. And yeah, is it gonna get worse each time? Sure, but like, how many times until it actually matters?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there at the beginning where you said, are you saying I'm getting a timeout for robbing a bank? You know what I mean? What is that supposed to scare NFL teams away from doing like to tamper? Like this isn't a preventative measure. You're absolutely right. If you actually want to stop teams from tampering and you want things to be legal and things to be fair for everybody, yeah, you start taking first round picks because then people are going to start listening to you. Like you said, fifth round pick, it might not even make the roster. 250K, a drop in the bucket for these billion-dollar organization franchises. If you are really that interested in getting the best, it doesn't even matter if it's a quarterback. Like you said, it could be the best available defensive lineman, the best available receiver, corner. You're taking that slap on the wrist every day of the week to acquire that elite talent. And you're not deterring, and the NFL is not deterring anybody from doing it again by doling out this punishment to the Falcons.
They're not doing anybody any favors, honestly. Because think about it. When were the Falcons going to be able to acquire a quarterback that is going to be of the level that Kirk Cousins has, supposedly been at the last couple of years? Even taking Penix is going to be a problem for them, even though if he stays healthy, I think he'd be a great talent. But you have to flip your entire playbook. Like, that's going to be a challenge of its own on top of whether or not he develops, because it's always a gamble when you're drafting, So it's like, yeah, I would do that every time. If I can get a sure thing of what I believe to be the best quarterback that they've had since Matt Ryan, absolutely.
So that's that for some of the quarterback news in terms of new storylines that have come out the last few weeks. How about we get over to Cincinnati? T. Higgins finally signed his franchise tag that was slapped on him back in March. I like to use the term slapped on when a franchise tag is applied without consent from the player. I think that's the way you want to put it. I mean, I would say if the player wants to be tagged, the franchise tag was placed on them and slapped on them if they didn't want it. If they wanted to test the open market.
Well, here's the problem, right? I am for the franchise tag, and that I know that can be unpopular, especially when it comes to players, but it's, I'm an organization, I have X amount of money, invested in you, time invested in you, and yeah, we're probably going to end up losing out on you, but I think it's, I gave you a shot at, living your dream of being an NFL player. I think that is a way that the organization gets to protect themselves, especially when they are an unfavored destination. Cincinnati is not a free agent hotspot unless they are winning. All right. And even then, it's still hard to get in free agents, So I can't just let these guys walk out the door without some kind of protection. I'm for the franchise tag when it comes to organizations, especially because, listen, I know it's not the contract that they're looking for, but they are getting paid very well compensated for that one season. Now, hopefully they don't get injured. I understand the risk there, and I can understand why players wouldn't want to play under it. I get that. But to me, it's almost like the same way as, like, say, Eli Manning not wanting to go to the San Diego Chargers. I think there are certain teams that they have the rights to these guys. That's how the organization should work. I think that's how, I don't want to see guys just taking a year off and then getting out of it and then they can go wherever they want. Like, that's ridiculous. I like that we have transparency in the league, that it's as even as it can be, I think. And these are certain placements why they might not be favorable and can sometimes be unfair. I think they are necessary to keep that transparency in the league.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And the franchise tag is something that probably won't be going away anytime soon. It's just too valuable of a tool for teams to use, like you said, Maz. When you know that a player is a guy who may not be in your long term plans, but you can squeeze him in for one more year, and that's what's going to happen when you're the Bengals with T Higgins here. And it's not like it's not a bad number, 21.8 million. Good for 11th highest paid receiver in football this upcoming season, which I think is a fair spot for a guy like T. Higgins, who's obviously not a number one on his team. Could be maybe on another one, but we don't know that for sure yet. And, you know, like you said, Cincinnati is not a hot spot for free agents. They've never been the team that doles out those big contracts. And, you know, even in the past few years, when they went on that Cinderella run to the Super Bowl 2 years ago with Burrow and Chase, in Chase's rookie year, they knew that from that season on, they were going to have to start preparing to dole out that money, which is why they had to sign the name or sell the naming rights of the stadium. It went from Mike Brown Stadium to Paycor Stadium because they needed the money, the capital to pay Joe Burrow. They're going to need the capital to pay Jamar Chase, and just T. Higgins is not going to be in those long-term cards for them. It's not that they see him as replaceable, but they see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase as the two necessary, mandatory, keep at all cost pieces on offense. And T. Higgins, as talented as he is, I'm a big fan of his game, just not in the cards going forward for them, I think. And they just want to get one more year out of that Jamar Chase T. Higgins duo before they can legitimately find a long-term wide receiver 2 option, maybe in the draft, maybe in free agency. We'll see where it goes.
I mean, can you blame them if you're the Cincinnati Bengals? I think I'm prioritizing the same too, that they're prioritizing out of the three.
Absolutely, for sure.
You know, you got your what should be providing injury and can stay healthy. Your guy of the future for quarterback and the present. And Jamar Chase, I believe, is the better receiver out of the two of them. No disrespect to T. Higgins, it's just there is levels to this, and he is, I don't want to say the Robin to the Batman of Jamar Chase, but he is the Nightwing to the Batman of Jamar Chase.
I like that. A step up from Robin is definitely a Nightwing for sure. More receiver drama. I mean, T. Higgins, he initially was really against the franchise tag, right? Like he requested a trade. He didn't even want to be there, but he didn't have a whole lot of leverage thanks to the new CBA. Players can't really hold out anymore. It's more detrimental financially to them than it was in years past, and it just wasn't going to happen for T. Higgins. So he'll be back this year, and we'll see what happens with his next team. But another receiver who is a bit you got something? What's up?
Yeah, I think it's the players' union's fault too. Look at who's the head of it. You go over and look at other leagues like the NBA. They got people that are tested in U.S. politics and in Supreme Court rulings, for crying out loud. Like they have established killers and sharks that are their lawyers for it and the heads of their unions. I think you look at what the NFL is bringing, and it's just like, oh yeah, we got a former player, who's just like our lead guy leading it, and the league's just gonna slap us around the entire time. Like, for the love of God, go out there as a players' union and invest some money into the people that are supposed to be protecting you. Because I do feel like a lot of the times the NFL comes out on the better side of these player dealings, right? And like I said, I like the transparency for the league, but I also cannot blame workers feeling like they are being treated unfairly, kind of. So I think just getting better representation in there for the pushback will be better for all parties. And let's just try to balance it out. I hate when guys sit out. I think that kills their careers. All right, look at Le'Veon Bell, prime example. All right, losing a year of football can completely derail your path. Look at Michael Vick, for crying out loud. All right, like you go from shooting star career, maybe even shooting star to, man, he fell off type thing, so I never want to see guys, sit out, but I also don't want to see them get screwed either. But also paying a guy $21 million a year, I would not say is necessarily screwing him. There is risks where, moving forward, God forbid he gets injured, then that messes up his money down the line, but you're being compensated for the work that you're doing this season, I believe, fairly.
Deshaun Watson, another name that comes to mind when you think of guys taking a year, or he had 2 years off, a season and a half, and he has not come back to the form he was in Houston. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I would say the franchise tag is inherently by nature is unfair to a player who, because in the long term you are losing money. you're getting a nice salary for that season coming up, but you're not getting that long term security, that long term payment. But that's besides the point. The franchise tag has been around for about as long as like unrestricted free agency has been, and the next CBA is not up for negotiation until 2032. So we don't. It's not like that's going to be changing anytime soon. So
You know what? That's the risk that you also assume. Like it's they did offer you a contract. You said that you didn't want to sign it, type of thing, right? You thought that you're valued more, and you're more than entitled to do that. But there is risk that does come with that, So you're gonna be compensated fairly while you're here, but it is that risk of what happens to your future. Also, we always just talk about like injury because that's the most unfair thing to happen to a player. What happens if the player just is starts having down years? They start regressing, that kind of stuff does happen. There's risk that comes with that. And I can't blame you for not signing the contract, but I can't blame the team neither for slapping it on you.
So yeah, slapping it on is definitely the word of choice here for T Higgins and the Commanders, or excuse me, the Bengals. Said the Commanders because that's the next thing we wanted to talk about. Not even specifically the Commanders, but Brandon Ayuk and the San Francisco 49ers. They've been on some rocky ground so far since the Niners lost the Super Bowl. Ayuk, extension eligible. Niners have not paid him yet, and there's been some trade rumors ever since the draft that the Niners could be moving one of Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel. And as of right now, Brandon Ayuk recently said that the Niners told him that they don't want him. Who knows how true that is? Who knows how inaccurate or accurate it is? But regardless, if Ayuk's coming out of San Fran, Maz, where is the best destination for him to go?
So I have a article here from CBS Sports that has came out, a little 2-minute read that came out 2 hours ago, titled "Brandon Ayuk Trade Rumors: Top 5 Logical Landing Spots as 49ers Wide Receiver Hints at Contract Holdup." There is 3 places out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 5 that I actually like for him a lot. Of course, the teams are the Cardinals, which I would love the pairing of him with Marvin Harrison Jr. if they could get that done, but I just still think that team has more things to worry about. The Chargers, I would really love as a destination. I mean, you got Justin Herbert with a brand new coach who Harbaugh is supposed to be, this next run is supposed to be the best we've ever seen him as, coming off a natty title with Michigan. I really like that spot, but I actually like a spot even better for him. And before I get to that, the other destination, New England, I would not want to see that happen yet. They, once again, number 1 wide receiver is far from what they should be focusing on in terms of rebuilding them. Commanders, I think that is a location that would be pretty cool to see.
For sure.
It's my number 2 for me. You got a brand new quarterback in there. He could use some weapons. Look at what the Bears just did for Caleb Williams. Probably the greatest position you could put a rookie quarterback in, maybe ever in the history of the NFL, when they're going to be the number 1 overall pick and you're supposed to be bad as a team, right? I think Ayuk would be really fun with the Commanders. Once again, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm keeping it 100 with you right now. My number 1 pick for them, though, a veteran quarterback situation, a franchise that has been known to get the job done, although it's been quite some time, but a coach that always has a winning record, a defense that is phenomenal, and possibly the best defensive player in the entire league on it. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers should go out and get Brandon Ayuk to make their number 1 wide receiver while they try to make this Russell Wilson run happen. I think Russell Wilson has a lot left in the tank. Shout out to Khalil Callaway, our partner out there with Hot Take Empire and all the other pages. But recently, Hot Take Empire put out schedules for the NFC East where they had the Giants beating the Steelers. I think that's absolutely ludicrous, and I think it's absolutely blasphemy if they can acquire a Brandon Ayuk. I think that this is a team that people are going to be sleeping on, and I think Brandon Ayuk takes them to that next level. I think you see them legitimately. I think they're going to be competing with Baltimore and Cincinnati and even Cleveland, but I think that this is the move that actually puts them into the conversation of they might actually be able to win the division with the move for Ayuk. and getting Wilson something that he can absolutely trust. And I think the organization is that ready for it, to be honest with you. I think that they get slept on a lot just because they play in a killer conference. But Russell Wilson still has some stuff left. We saw when he actually had a legitimate coach in Denver. No disrespect, Charlie, to your offensive coordinator or whatever. I don't even care. But Sean Payton found a way to use Russell Wilson. They just said that, hey, I think that we need to kind of go rebuild where the Steelers feel that there's a window here. That's why they went and acquired him. That they also went and acquired Justin Fields as a little backup where, hey, if it doesn't work out, maybe this could be the guy, sure. But you go out and get a Russell Wilson, you go and get him a special new weapon. It's like getting a father on Father's Day, the brand new Corvette. Let him go out there, take it as far as he can, and maybe some magic happens with it, or maybe it's just a midlife crisis and it's not exactly what you're looking for. But I believe that it could be the special ride.
So I don't hate the Steeler love. I got a lot of love for Mike Tomlin. I think you can make the case that he is the best coach in football right now. I mean, in terms of success in the last few years, does he have the roster that Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid have? No, but he still finds a way to get it done with a lot less talent, and I think we can both agree on that.
He's definitely top five. Definitely top five.
Easily.
To three than people want to give him credit for. I'm with you. I just until somebody overthrows Andy Reid, I will not be a believer of anybody else. That's including Sean McVay, who is supposed to be fabulous, the next guy, and he might even be a damn commentator in a couple of seasons. Until somebody overthrows Andy Reid, I will not give over that helm. And Bill Belichick's supposed to be coming back to the game, so we'll see what happens. Mike Tomlin, phenomenal coach. Never has a losing season, I believe. He's the man.
Yeah, he's absolutely always finds a way to somehow come away with a winning season without fail.
Yep. With Matt Canada as his damn offensive coordinator.
Who the hell knows how he managed to swing that? But as much as I would love a pairing of George Pickens and Brandon Ayuk, I don't think Pittsburgh is the best option there. I like the Chargers one, because obviously they don't have a lot of great receiver help right now. They drafted Ladd McConkey. You had Quentin Johnston in the first round last year, and I think Ayuk would slide in seamlessly as wide receiver one for the Chargers, and they definitely need one because it's looking more like it's going to be wide receiver one by committee next year in the Jim Harbaugh first year of the Jim Harbaugh tenure. But my number one spot, definitely the Washington Commanders. Brandon Ayuk and Jaden Daniels, teammates at Arizona State. They have a great relationship, and I think just making your rookie quarterback as comfortable as possible, starting him off in the most QB-friendly system. Washington, they did their best to patch up the O-line. They have a solid receiving room right now. They have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, and I think adding a Brandon Ayuk to that room, it just doesn't put them on the same level as the Bears. I mean, they have they have two number ones and a guy who could be a one we don't know yet, hasn't played a snap yet, in Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Odunze. A receiving trio of Ayuk, McLaurin, and Dotson, that's up there, man. That is a fantastic three. And if you want Jaden Daniels to succeed, put him in the best possible position to succeed as possible. Because the Commanders, when's the last time they had a franchise quarterback, man? Kirk Cousins, and if you even want to call him that, in his few year tenure there before he left for Minnesota,
got nothing for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Who got their leg broken by
Alex Smith?
No, the one before that was Joe Theismann.
Joe Theismann, yeah.
I think that's the last time that they've had a franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
pretty much. If you're Brandon Ayuk though, right? You have options here. You're only 26 years old. You got time left for sure. You can weather the process of going with this rookie quarterback in the newly vamped Washington Commanders, but I do think that that's a bit of a question mark. How is Dan Quinn going to be as a head coach getting the helm again? I think he's going to be all right, but it's still a question mark on can Jaden Daniels be the next great one? I mean, Robert Griffin III was supposed to be it, and he took off way too many times and end up paying with it by just getting, unprotected hits on him out in the open field. And I fear that Daniels could kind of have that same style of play. He is very athletic, very slim. He's more than confident in his capabilities, right? You could go that path. But if I'm Ayuk, Russell Wilson has won a Super Bowl. The Steelers have won Super Bowls with this current head coach and Mike Tomlin. It's not a crazy thing to say that the defense that the Steelers are bringing is definitely on another level, even with Dan Quinn coming in as a head coach, that the Steelers defense is definitely on another level. I think that the offenses are closer together with the acquisition of Ayuk to them. I'm not going to sit here and say that the offense coming from the Commanders is light years ahead of the Steelers. We don't know. Me personally, I'd rather go with the more proven success right now, while I know that they're all in on him. We're not going to see Russell Wilson much longer. I feel like, couple of seasons, maybe 4, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know.
And how many of those is he holding a clipboard for? You know what I mean?
So it's like, that's exactly it. I think the Steelers are all in right now. And I think the Commanders are all in, but they're all in for the future. So it all depends on what you want to be. Do you want to be all in for the future? You're only 26 years old. That is possible, but this is a violent game. Or you can go right now, get paid, and be all in for this season. I think I want to be all in for this season.
I don't disagree that Ayuk he's a win now player. Obviously, he's already a great receiver. But at age 26, he does fit the timeline of a youth movement. You know what I mean? Like it's not out of the realm of possibility.
He can be either way. I'm just saying, for him, you can afford to do that. Absolutely. I just think if I was him, I can get paid, they could legitimately compete now. I still think the Commanders have 2 years until they're truly competing for that conference.
I'll be honest with you. I don't disagree with you there for sure with the Commanders. Even if the Steelers do hypothetically make a trade for Brandon Ayuk, I still don't put them ahead of anybody else in that division, unfortunately. And that's with the respect I have for Mike Tomlin already.
Yeah, I just think that the offense would be much better. I think that defense gets slept on. I mean, we've seen that defense keep them in games where, like, come on, man, Pickett had no business of being in. What's his name? Mason Rudolph, for crying out loud, is getting trotted out onto the field. I mean, now this is the first time I think that they're gonna have adequate play since Ben Roethlisberger. Like, I've had no confidence in their quarterbacks for the past couple of years. I'm glad that they moved on, because it just wasn't going to work out. I think Russell Wilson, I want to believe, has it left in the tank, where it's going to be hard regardless. It's going to be a war. You are in a division with Baltimore, with Cincinnati, with Cleveland, who's had the best defense last year. Like, this is defense mayhem, and now you got Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase, Amari Cooper coming at you from all different angles, let alone the quarterback play. I think this is a move that you go out there. It's like, okay, now we might not win it, but we could definitely compete for it. And you never know what comes out. This is any given Sunday, baby. As long as you're in the race, you can come out on the other side. And let's be honest, too. You go over to the Commanders, even with Ayuk, are they getting past Dallas? Are they getting past Philly? It's just as much as a battle. It's just the only thing is the Giants, are they going to be good or not? So yeah. Either way, I think you're closer with the Steelers, and that 50-50 can roll your way. I don't see the 50-50 rolling the Commanders' way within this next season.
All right, we'll see what happens with Brandon Ayuk as the summer rolls on. I mean, we've seen trades happen as early as June or as late as August. So anything could happen from here until then. I don't know about you, Mazz, but I'm still now that the NBA is over, I'm just kind of itching for football to get rolling.
Luckily I have the team that I care about most in the Portuguese national team to hold me over. But the second the Euros is over, you know me. Played football for 13 years. Of course, did not make it to any high levels with my 5'6" stubby stature. But I am a football guy at heart, and football above everything else. I love the NBA, but football above everything else. I cannot wait for the boys of summer, which I don't know why they're not called the boys of fall because that's when it's more taken over. I can't wait for the boys to get back on to the gridiron and get after it, my friend. And you know what? I'm going to stake a claim right now that I think you're going to hate. I actually think with the acquisition of Brandon Ayuk, I think that the Steelers are the number 2 team in that division.
Behind the Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't trust Cincy's defense. And Joe Burrow's got has a questionable medical history. I don't trust the offensive line still. I trust in the receivers, of course, but Joe Mixon's not there anymore, baby. He's down in Houston, you know. So I think I would like Pittsburgh as the number 2 in that division behind Baltimore. And it's not like they haven't been able to get the job done before against them. You know, I know Lamar's been a thorn, but this is a winning organization. This is the greatest organization. This is the greatest franchise in NFL history, not the greatest dynasty, you know, but in terms of like organization, they've always run it right. You know, their down years are better than teams' best years sometimes.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Sorry, buddy.
So regardless, I mean, Ayuk, who knows if he's actually moving the needle in terms of for any team in general. We'll see what happens. But there's also a lot of guys around the league right now getting second chances in terms of fresh starts at QBs. Zach Wilson, of course, after three tough seasons with the Jets, shipped out to Denver, where he will be competing for the starting job with, I believe, is Jarrett Stidham still there? That's good. I think so.
I think so, but what did it not be?
Bo
What's
Nix.
his name? Bo Nix. Thank you. Out of Oregon, by way of Auburn.
I think all three will have a chance at competing for that starting job. And then over in Minnesota, another former Jets quarterback getting another crack at it. Sam Darnold spent the year as the backup in San Fran last year. I'm sure picked up a thing or two from Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. He's competing with J.J. McCarthy, another incoming rookie, for that starting job as the Vikings quarterback. Mazz, I think the question here for the both of us is there a chance that either of these guys, A, win the starting job, and B, have a Baker Mayfield-esque career resurrection in their in a new start, a new stop, fresh spot?
Sure. I think you have to put the gamble with Sam Darnold because the Vikings have been in on him since they've acquired him, even before they acquired him. They're losing Kirk Cousins. We're going to get Sam Darnold. We were all like, what? That's the solution. But they were able to score touchdowns with a guy like Nick Mullins as their quarterback. You know, there's so much offensive weapon for this team where, Charlie, you might be able to complete a pass in the NFL if you were playing quarterback for them. I think Sam Darnold is in a really great position to resurrect his career a la Baker Mayfield, just because you now have Justin Jefferson. You now have those weapons. I'm rooting for Zach Wilson more than anybody. I hate that the Jets have done that to me. I said from day one he got overdrafted. There was no reason why he should have been there when you had a Justin Fields on the board. There's absolutely no reason why you should have scapegoated the kid who's the youngest damn kid on your roster, clearly not mature, makes a stupid comment, and now we're just going to put everything on him. I'm glad that he's out of New York. I'm glad that he's getting a chance, and not only getting a chance that is not too far from where he grew up, an environment that he's definitely should be a lot more comfortable in being in. And yeah, I think it's him and Bo Nix that are going to be going at it. I don't think Stidham's going to be really much of a factor in it. I could see him winning the starting job and then Bo Nix eventually taking over. But to be fair, I could see the same thing happening with J.J. McCarthy as well. I just think that I trust more in Sean Payton as a head coach, I believe, but I trust more in the roster of the Vikings where, you know, you can put Brandon Weeden in there and they're going to score touchdowns.
I'm with you there. I think the Vikings system is so quarterback friendly. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, I think you'd agree with me, is a fantastic head coach, and I think he's going to be in Minnesota for a long time there. And J.J. McCarthy's just a raw quarterback. I believe he is 21 years old. Like he is like just about as young you can be coming out of the NFL draft. And Sam Darnold, I think he's never really had a fair shake at a starting quarterback spot. I mean, post the Jets, the first year in Carolina, they were undefeated until Christian McCaffrey went down with injury, and then from there everything just kind of spun out of control. The year after, they bring in Baker Mayfield. He doesn't get he gets hurt in preseason, and Sam Darnold can't even really finish the training camp battle that they were supposed to have. Spends the year in San Fran last year. I'm sure picked up a thing or two, as I said, from that Shanahan tree. They can make any quarterback look good. And now here he is coming into Minnesota, and he's going to be throwing to Justin Jefferson. I think Sam Darnold is going to be starting week 1 for the Vikings. Not to say McCarthy doesn't have a chance to start later on down the season, but I think week 1, the Vikings are taking the season seriously. Sam Darnold is your week 1 starting quarterback. Now, for the Broncos, Zach Wilson, I don't think wins the starting job. And I agree with a lot of the things you said. Got a raw deal here in New York. Got scapegoated for a lot of things. But I just don't think, like you said, Sean Payton is the coach out there in Denver. That quarterback system is really cerebral. You got to know the plays inside and out. You got to know who's going to be where on any given second, any given play. And Zach Wilson is just not that cerebral kind of player. He's a bit more of the gunslinger, playmaker, rolling out of the pocket, gonna backyard football, redirecting guys who are running downfield. Bo Nix is a bit more of the guy of the Drew Brees style quarterback, where he knows the playbook like the back of his hand. He is gonna command that offense. He's gonna know the plays. He's gonna be attached to the hip with Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael, whoever the OC is over there. I think Bo Nix starts week 1 for the Broncos, as opposed to JJ McCarthy, because Bo Nix is 24 years old. He's a bit more mature up in the head mentally. He's older than Zach Wilson, and this is Zach Wilson's 4th year in the league. How funny is that? But I just think 2 different situations, two different quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, his first stop after being labeled the bust, and Sam Darnold now here in almost year 6 or year 7 of his NFL career. So that's where the difference is for me with these 2 guys and these 2 teams and their situations at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, I don't think you're entirely wrong. I think you've hit a lot of things on the head. I just think that I think I have some faith left in Zach Wilson. I mean, to go on the emotional roller coaster and then to be able to, that was the New York Jets, and then to be able to hit the reset button with a coach like Sean Payton. Like, if there's, when I said that I had faith in Sean Payton, there was no knock against, what's his name up with the Vikings?
Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell. It wasn't a knock on him. It's just that, like, he's more of the, San Francisco's, Kyle Shanahan, kind of, Kyle Shanahan kind of quarterback, where it's like, that offense is going to be nice. Is it going to be able to get over the hump? I don't know. I know Sean Payton has taken it all the way. This has been one of the best leaders at the head coaching position for me. Of course, Bounty Gates is staying on it, but listen, I mean, this is a guy that I just will not bet against. He is of that Mike Tomlin tier for me, where there's just guys that just get football and just turn what should be horrible situations into somewhat money and functionable things. I think that if there's anybody in this league that can get Zach Wilson on the right track, it is Sean Payton. Now, I would not be surprised if Bo Nix ends up winning the starting quarterback position. I just don't know if it's going to be week 1. We'll see what happens. And they might want Bo Nix to sit for a second just to make sure, hey, we've lost some things. Lost a wide receiver in Judy. There's really Zach, buddy. We're kind of retooling this year. We kind of just need you to go out there and make some magic happen. That'd be great, but you might just need to take the beating right now until we feel that Bo has something adequate that's not going to get him thrown down into the turf. So we'll see. I think Zach Wilson is going to have an okay NFL career, and I think Denver is going to be a place that we see him for maybe 2-3+ seasons.
So are we both in agreement here that neither Sam Darnold nor Zach Wilson will have a Baker Mayfield-esque year where they sign a 3-year, $96 million contract extension after the season's over to remain with that team?
No, not with the team. I think Sam Darnold has a chance to get overpaid by another organization, but because you see JJ McCarthy sitting on that bench, they've already
Yeah,
said that's the future, that's it. Like, who was sitting on the bench for Tampa Bay? Baker comes out, makes some great plays, has the chemistry with Mike Evans. Yeah, I don't think either one of them is going to be able to have that Baker Mayfield-esque run strictly because of what's sitting either behind them for a little bit or jumping out right in front of them from the very get-go.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Uh, Baker Mayfield was competing with Kyle Trask last year in training camp, who was
Oh,
exactly. And then, like you said, you got 2 first-round picks on the bench behind both these guys, or in front of them, depending on where we are. But it's just not likely for both of them to stick around with these teams that they just recently signed and re-upped with.
to be fair, there is, I think, a path where Sam Darnold definitely, if I had to put money on it, would have the more likely of it. I mean, we saw Trey Lance was supposed to be the 49ers guy. Jimmy Garoppolo was supposed to be the 49ers guy. And boom, Brock Purdy gets the chance. And it's like, why would we even switch off of this? Like, no,
Yeah.
get rid of the other two. This is what if Sam Darnold plays, he's got to come out. I'm talking Ryan Fitzpatrick magic for the first 6 weeks and then continue that past what Fitzpatrick was able to do and for the whole season. If he could come out of the gate, we won't see JJ McCarthy this season. If he could come out of the gate and stay hot with it, there's no reason to even see him. We'll see what happens though. But if I had to put money on it, yeah, it's definitely the other way. It's definitely with the Vikings.
Yeah, I think we're generally in agreement there on that. Moving on, Austin Eckler had an interview this week talking about how his parting of ways with the Chargers, the only franchise he's ever played with in his entire NFL career. He claims that the Chargers were looking for a running back who's going to tote the rock 300 plus times a year, and that just did not align philosophically with Austin Eckler's play style and the new look Jim Harbaugh Chargers. So, Mazz, what are your thoughts there? Austin Eckler dodging 300 carries in a season?
I mean, listen, I get that he's 29 years old, and this league has not been the favorite to running backs of recent years, especially with, when they literally just come, as people love to say, the old cliche, a dime a dozen. Every time you turn around, there's a new hot running back in the league. Dude, you're supposed to be like a poor man's Christian McCaffrey. They play similar styles. Look at McCaffrey out there. And with the injury history that he has and the bulk of carries not shying away from it, that's why he is the number one running back in the league. I don't want a guy who's shying away from that. Like, dude, you're here to go all in. All right? You could have done that with the Chargers. I was about to say San Diego. They were no longer San Diego, but they will forever be San Diego in my heart. You could have done that with the Chargers. You chose not to. If I'm hearing that and I'm Dan Quinn, I'm like, dude, what the hell did we just pay you for? Like, why are you here if you don't want the ball? Like, if you're on that field, you should want the ball 24/7. If you're not getting the ball, buddy, you better be laying down a block, damn it.
Yeah, yeah.
What are we talking about here? That is the most baffling statement I've ever heard from a player in recent memory.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and especially in an era where running backs are knocked for not being available or not being able to carry a full RB1 workload. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe he's kind of resigned to the fact that he's past that part of his career where he's going to sign a major long-term extension. I don't know. He's got a nice formidable 1-2 punch duo with Brian Robertson now with the Commanders, but yeah, I don't even think Austin Eckler has once even gotten near 300 in his career. I'm looking at his PFR page right now, and the 21 and 22 seasons were his highest career carry numbers. He had 206 in 21 and 204 in 22. Last year he had 179. That is not really where you want your bell cow running back to be at in terms of carries. If you look over at Christian McCaffrey's numbers, he had 272 last year, 244 the year before that. And then the ultimate bell cow of all time, Derrick Henry, 280 last year, 349 before that. You know what I mean? Austin Eckler is just not that bell cow back. He's not. He never has been.
Listen, well, with statements like that, he better watch out because maybe Brian Robinson Jr. wants to be that guy.
Yeah.
That's second on their depth chart right now. And listen, there's guys. How many times has a running back just come out of nowhere and we're like, okay, bet, you're getting it going, good for you. Like guys want the touches. They have four running backs on there. I don't think Jeremy McNillis, Chris Rodriguez Jr. are going to be overtaking him. I don't even think Brian Robinson's going to be overtaking him, but you never know with effort. It could take you a long way, my friend. I think he's a little too comfortable in it where it's like, buddy, you gotta still fight for a position. This is the NFL, for crying out loud. You'll be forgotten tomorrow. You don't believe me? Go call up Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Le'Veon now doing a very very minor league form of boxing, and starting an OnlyFans is where he's at now. So that's what happens when you try and sit out a season when you're an NFL running back.
Talk about a fall from grace, man. Oh my God, and
Yeah.
imagine where the Steelers would have been if he would have just stayed, and if Antonio Brown would have just stayed. I don't know.
I mean, Big Ben still retires a few years later, but who knows? Maybe they do get one last hurrah shot at a Super Bowl, but who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sure Steelers fans ask themselves that question at least once a week.
Once a day.
We'll have to ask Ryan White next time we're talking with him.
Yeah. I don't think he'll be too happy about that, buddy. Charlie, I know this wasn't on the menu for it, but just in spirit, NBA championship just went by. Way too early prediction. As of right this second, who's taking it all, buddy?
Non-bias.
Non-bias, of course.
I mean,
Give me the shit.
No, I mean, I could totally go there right now and tell you about how I think they have a top 5 roster in football, but how could you say anything other than the Kansas City Chiefs? As boring as it sounds, as cliche as it is, how do you not pick the Kansas City Chiefs, who looked as vulnerable as they ever did last year, with all the drops and the receiver problems and the offensive problems they were having? They still somehow found a way to win the Super Bowl. How do you not give them the benefit of the doubt going forward in any season as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Andy Reid? If they have those 4 guys on the team, they have probably about a 50-50 shot at winning the Super Bowl that year. And I think that's just as a football fans, we all have to accept it.
I think Patrick Mahomes is going down the second greatest quarterback of all time. He might even. I never thought we could ever talk about somebody passing Tom Brady. If he wins this one, I think we start having this conversation. I'm not entertaining it until then. But
Yeah,
good God,
TB12
what
never three-peated.
the hell? Fair enough. But he does have how many?
7. Well, hey, if we think about it mathematically, Pat's on the way there, man. He's got 3 by 28.
But here's my question, though, right? Now, why are you putting so much value in three-peating right now?
Because
you didn't value it when Kobe did it over LeBron, right? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Because Brady did it.
Oh.
It's a little different. Three-peating in the NFL is a bit different than three-peating in the NBA. Let's be real. Come on.
They're both really damn hard. There's a reason why there's only been 4 superstars that have been able to do it. Mike and Scotty, Shaq and Kobe. Nobody else has done it since. And I don't think anybody's ever done it in the NFL.
Nobody's ever done it in the NFL.
It's
not
they're
happened.
They're both really impressive. I don't want it to happen, to be honest. I'm kind of over Kansas City, but Andy Reid deserves all the praise he can get. And so does Patrick Mahomes, even though people are getting sick of him because whether it's the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce relationship that he just so happens to get attached to, or whether it's his family members just acting out and being entitled, which everybody seems to hate. I don't know. But yeah, that is a boring take, and you're not wrong, because it's right. It's boring because
it's boring.
it's right.
It's right. And also,
yeah.
the fact that no one in the history of the NFL has three-peated, and that it's happened multiple times in the NBA, it just makes it's on different levels. So if Mahomes is able to pull it off, you're telling me that's not a incredibly impressive feat.
It's absolutely impressive. He's not over Brady for me though.
Okay. All right. That was my question. That was my question.
I will say this though. I think I already have him like fifth, maybe. It puts him over Montana. I think it puts him over. He's right there with Peyton. Honestly. Oh man. Yeah. He could cement himself. As of next year, I think as the second greatest quarterback the league's ever seen. With room to move into the first spot. And who would have thought he was just sitting there at Texas Tech the entire time, and how many people passed over him? Chicago's happy that they're getting to make up with it, with Caleb Williams potentially. Yeah. But even Caleb at his height might not be Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. You just have no clue how he's going to adapt to the game. But good Lord, this just tells me that scouting departments of the NFL just don't mean a damn thing like they used to.
It's a crapshoot.
If they ever, come on, man. If everybody had the information of hindsight 2020, he goes first time every time, and you might just not want to draft afterwards if you can't get him in it. I got nothing for you, buddy. Guys get paid and to come out wrong, and you know what? Sometimes we might get paid to be wrong, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But hey, it is what it is. If I had to put money on it, I think San Francisco, if they're keeping the band together, just has to get it done, right? I don't love Brock Purdy. I love the story, but I wouldn't want Brock Purdy as my quarterback personally. I just think that roster is just so good. I think that they're going to be hungry. I think that Shanahan is finally trying to shake off, hey, dude, you blow it in the big game every time. Look at Atlanta. Now look at San Francisco. Multiple times. I think he has the chip on his shoulder. I think he needs to get it done this season.
I don't know if he needs to get it done this season. I think he's earned the right. Of course, he hasn't won the big one yet. He has not achieved.
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going anywhere. I'm just saying that, for him, dude, this has to happen. If it doesn't happen, where do you go from here? Do you trade Ayuk? You might want to start talking about a different quarterback. I don't know. What else do you want? You have everything.
Yeah.
Even the guy who's not supposed to be the great quarterback is playing really good. So I don't know. If I'm Shanahan, I'm losing my mind of what is it going to take.
It's almost like when you look back at the NBA of the 90s, and how many great players and teams and coaches didn't win a championship because they played in that Michael Jordan era. You think about the 90s Knicks with Patrick Ewing. You think about the Supersonics with the Glove and Sean Kemp. Karl Malone and John Stockton and those Jazz teams, all basically, as depressing as it sounds, a footnote in the history of the NBA because of Michael Jordan. And you might be seeing the same thing here now, that great teams and great players will not reach the mountain because they played in the Patrick Mahomes era. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I also will give the benefit of the doubt to those 90s NBA teams. I don't think the Knicks' second best player was John Stockton, for crying out loud. They did not have the depth to go at it with it, with the Michael Jordan's team. Same thing with any of them. Everyone that you just named, I don't think really had the depth or the roster. They might have had the star power to get after it, even though they didn't have the star, but I think, outside of quarterback, there's really not much difference in the roster. Yes, Travis Kelce, but George Kittle has an argument for being the second best tight end in the game, right? They have the better running back. They have the better defense. They have the better wide receiving core. They just don't have the better head coach or the better quarterback.
And that's really what it boils down to, huh?
I guess so, Coaching, it matters, folks. Once again, Charlie, we done it, buddy. Another episode in the books. The first ever football episode of the Mazz and Bad Show. How you feeling, buddy?
Feeling fantastic. Had a lot of fun today. I mean, we're coming off just about 2 straight hours of recording, basketball and football. I even touched on some Euros there at the beginning, and a fantastic start to the era of the Mazz and Bad Show. Mazz, I cannot wait to keep this going moving forward. I think this might potentially be one of the hottest podcasts out on the market right now, man.
Listen, buddy, you know I'm going to bet on myself. I'm sure as hell going to bet on you every day of the week, my friend. Mark it down right now, Tuesday, June 18th. 2024 can go down as a top 5 day in my life. Why? Because we started the project that I've been trying to get after as a getting a podcast that's gonna get past the first couple of months, keeping it together. I've had other projects in the past. Shout out and Mazz, that was going for 2 years strong as a radio show, but we were confined to FCC rules. Here we can get after whatever we want. I love the freedom that we get. I can't wait to get Ant on this podcast too, and all the other great guests that we're going to be getting after. Shout out to the fat cat in the back, my man.
She really waited. Really waited till the end to come on out.
Well, you want to see another champion real quick, just to see that how lucky I got. My dog, as I affectionately refer to him as Mustache, the little Shih Tzu scamp, decided to dip and didn't bark once, which I still can't believe. But if you look over to the side, you will see my man King just been sleeping this entire time. The mailman did not come by, and we didn't have to stop once due to animals. So that is absolutely great. Another reason why this is a great day, and I get to see Portugal to play. Buddy, I think it's gonna be this day, the birth of my kids, eventually if they come, my wedding day. This is gonna be up there. Mark it down, June 18th, 2024, the year of the Mazz and Bads show, baby. We out here. You already know what it is. You can follow us on YouTube. Check out Instagram. We will be coming to Spotify and all other podcast platforms soon. We appreciate the support. We appreciate everybody that's been along for the ride, baby. This has been a year in the making. We've been talking about getting into the podcast game of, partnering up and getting after it. I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait to bring back all those familiar faces from those other platforms too, Charlie. This is going to be a great era, my friend.
Absolutely. We got a lot of exciting things coming up. This is only just the beginning, so please make sure you stay up to date, stay subscribed, stay followed, stay whatever you need to do to know when episodes of the Mazz and Bad Show are on their way.
Shout out Ryan Tulio, our producer, going to be editing this down for us because Lord knows I don't have the editing software. But Hot Take Empire coming at you live, baby. Mazz and Bad Show out. Deuces.